So I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority regular board meeting of August 8th, 2022, and welcome you all here today. Martina, can you call the roll call, please? Do the roll call, please.
Absolutely. Director Kohler,
Here.
Director Avragetis. Okay, and it looks like he's absent. Director Shea.
Shay, I'm here.
Shea. So sorry, sir. Director Shea. Director Ravasio. Looks like Ravasio's absent. Director Goins.
Here.
Director Hilliard. Looks like Hilliard is absent. Director Molesworth.
Here.
Director Paulson.
Here.
Director Kurtz. Looks like Director Kurtz is absent. Director Donahue. Absent for Donahue. Director Jeschke.
Here.
Director White.
Here.
Director Berto. Looks like Berto's absent. Director Finn.
Here.
Director McGuinty.
It would be Burke in place of McEntee.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Director Burke. I apologize. Okay, Director McMillan
Yes, here.
and President Rodoni.
I'm here. Thank you so much. And the first item I'd like to take on here is to welcome Councilmember Burke, who will be representing Mill Valley, City of Mill Valley. So Director Burke, I was just wondering if you wanted to say, I have a comment or two to introduce yourself to the rest of the board.
Thank you very much, President Rodoni, and hello, folks. I hope to meet you all personally sooner rather than later. Got some big shoes to fill with Sashi moving on to Sonoma, but she's been a great mentor, and others have been very generous with their advice, and I look forward to working with you and learning from you and help making this authority as successful as the taxpayers wish it to be. So really excited to join and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the next item on the agenda, to see if there's any agenda adjustments. Anyone like to suggest an agenda adjustment at this time? I see someone has a hand up. It's Martina. Did I miss something, Martina? Oh, you're muted.
Just letting you know that Director Avragetis has now joined the meeting.
Thank you very much. So if I see no adjustments that are necessary, we'll move on to item 4, which is public expression. The public is welcome to address the board of directors at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the board. Please be advised that pursuant to the Government Code section, the board is not permitted to discuss or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments can be no longer than 3 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your phones during the meeting and mute your microphone when not reporting out. Thank you. Martina, is there any members of the public that want to address the board today on matters not on the agenda?
If there are any members of the public wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. And we do not have any hands for items not on the agenda, sir.
Thank you so much. The next item is a presentation. We're very happy to make this proclamation of appreciation of Sachi's service on this on this board and our committee participation that you participated in. We have a presentation by Mark Brown and Director Kohler, so I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, President Rodoni, and I'll pass it off to Director Kohler, who worked closely with us to help draft the proclamation honoring Sashi.
Thank you and welcome, Sashi. It's nice to see your smiling face. Proclamation in honor of Sashi Sabaratnam McEntee, MWPA board member May 2020 through July 2022. Whereas Sashi Sabaratnam McEntee has served as a board member of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Since its first meeting on May 21st, 2020, shortly after Measure C was enacted by the voters, and whereas Sashi represents the city of Mill Valley on the MWPA, she has served on the Mill Valley City Council for nearly 7 years. And whereas Sashi was first elected to the City Council in 2015, was reelected in 2020, and served as the mayor from April 2020 to April 2021. And whereas during her tenure as a board member, Sashi volunteered to serve on several MWPA subcommittees, thus helping the agency hit the ground running through its infancy to the fully functioning agency it is today. Member McEntee's knowledge and expertise have been instrumental in the authority's efforts to achieve its key goals and objectives. And whereas Sashi has been a key member of the executive committee since its creation, Member McEntee has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to ethical practices and transparency in governance and leadership through insistence upon the utmost standard of integrity for all persons within and in partnership with the MWPA. And whereas as a member of the MWPA Board Retreat Ad Hoc Committee, Sashi was instrumental in the development of our virtual remote retreat, wherein her common sense, organizational skills, and vision for the MWPA were critical in ensuring the success of the first board retreat, which led to the development of our goals and objectives that continue to be the foundation around which MWPA develops its projects. And whereas on the MWPA Environmental Ad Hoc Subcommittee, again, her perspectives, intelligence, experience, and valuable insights were key to developing next steps. Sashi's focus has been on building a truly sustainable, fiscally responsible organization. And whereas Sashi is a single mom of 2 wonderful young women, Ava and Sabrina, and their dog Kyan, she somehow manages to work full-time, serve on the Mill Valley Council, serve on several boards, committees, and she is pursuing a master's degree, all at the same time, always excelling at all. Whereas Sashi is truly a public servant, she works as the wildfire vegetation mitigation manager for the County of Sonoma and has developed, among other things, a new comprehensive vegetation management division for the county through the UC Cooperative Extension. And whereas Sashi is working on a master's degree in Homeland Security through the Center for Homeland Defense and Security. Her thesis project will address wildfire prevention through visualization of vegetation management and other techniques to fully engage community members to prepare for and minimize wildfires. Whereas Sashi has clearly demonstrated her commitment to and unwavering support for MWPA. Her impact cannot be understated, and her voice will continue to be a resounding anchor of MWPA activities as the authority continues to progress in its mission to create a better and more fire-adapted Marin County. And whereas Sashi has moved her family to Sonoma County and thus sadly must leave or has left the Mill Valley Council, MWPA, and other associated boards, commissions she serves on for the city. And whereas Sashi is respected by all she serves with on the MWPA board due to her thoughtfulness, commitment, dedication, and conscientiousness. She has truly served the public with integrity and intelligence. And now, therefore, be it hereby proclaimed that in acknowledgement of her exemplary service and many contributions, the MWPA sincerely thanks Sashi Saparatnam McEntee and wishes her success in her future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Really appreciate that. I want to open it up to any board members that might want to make a comment at this point before going to Sashi. Gabe?
Yeah, I just keep it brief, but Sashi, thank you. You've been a great member on this board, a great member off this board as a conversationalist, and someone I've bounced ideas, and I'm gonna miss you. I think we're all gonna miss you. So good luck. And yeah, I think the proclamation said it all.
Yeah. Mark?
Yes, Sashi, good luck to you. I can say is that Sonoma County's gain is Marin County's loss. So wishing you the best in the future for you and your family and for all your endeavors. Thank you.
Julie?
Sashi, you made this look very easy, and I know none of it has been easy for any of us. It's really hard to start up an agency from scratch virtually. And we so appreciate all of your input and intellect and everything Barbara said and so much more. And I'm hoping that you will remain in touch with us and follow us, and we can turn to you for advice and guidance as we need to. Thank you.
Dennis,
Okay,
if I'm,
Mark, go ahead.
well, I've already said quite a few things about Sashi, especially about her fingerprints all over the organization. But I'll add just one last thing, kind of teeing off of what Mark White said. Ann and I greatly appreciate your participation in Sonoma County, and whereas we'll be able to benefit from your work. So we wish you all the luck.
Thanks, Mark. Bruce?
Hi, Sashi. Just getting to know you over the last couple of 2.5 years, the time that we spent walking and talking. I just want to say I have to just hold you in the highest regard. Your attention to detail, your intellect, your ability to converse and engage in very thoughtful, sometimes very difficult deliberations. This 2 years as past president, I can say that I look back and see what we have, and actually reviewed where we are, what we have in the strategic plan, our goals and objectives, the metrics and the monitoring, and meeting with some of the new leadership. I have to say that you are integral to, making sure that, T's were crossed, I's were dotted. And I really, really wish you the best here in the future, professionally and personally. We've shared stories about each other's experiences. And so I just want to tell you, I just wish the best for you, and just wish the very, very best. And thanks. And if you ever have any questions about forest management, forestry, carbon, greenhouse gases, biomass, give me a call. I got a lot. I'm retired now. So anyway, thank you. Thank you, Sashi. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce. All right, we're going to turn it over to Sashi. Sashi?
Well, thank you so much. I'm so moved at Director Kohler. That was an amazing, amazing proclamation, and so thoroughly covered all the bases there. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that, and thank you to Mark and Ann for all of your, and Martina for pulling this together, and President Rodoni and Vice President McMillan. I'm grateful that you were able to give me a little bit of time here to say goodbye. And past President Goins, it's been so wonderful to work with you over the last couple of years. And the rest of the board, I know how much you all, how much you care about this work, and how hard you're working to make sure that Marin County is safer from wildfire and does whatever the voters really intended here. So, and I am so happy that I get to pass the torch off to Stephen. I really pushed to try to get Stephen to be a part of this, because I know that he's going to be a really great director and going to add a lot of value. So I'm delighted that Mill Valley is going to have such a strong representative there. And on the positive side there, I have spoken to Chief Martin, who's chair of the ATC, about having UC Cooperative Extension have a non-voting seat to provide some expertise, and that would either be, depending on the issue, would either be me or our forester Mike Jones, or our new fire advisor Tori Norville, or Steve Swain, but you'll have access now through to UC Cooperative Extension's resources, including me through the ATC as a non-voting member. So at least I'll be able to participate in that way. And I look forward to staying in touch with all of you, because we are all learning and doing this good work together. So thank you very much for taking the time in your meeting. I know you've got a lot to cover. I really appreciate it. And thanks for doing all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Sashi. Best of luck. All right, we're going to move on now to item number 6, which is the Executive Director's Report. Mark?
I almost started talking without unmuting, so someone else is going to have that honor for this meeting. Getting my screen share going with you. I will be very brief today. There's been a few fires of note recently, and one of them that actually hit home quite a bit for Director Goins and impacted his former neighborhood and people that he held near and dear to his heart. So we all are thinking of you through this, but the McKinney fire was another example of the extreme fire behavior that we've been seeing. Many of the other fires we've had this year have been behaving the way they're supposed to, for lack of a better word. This fire did not. This fire had a very extreme fire behavior. And then there's a lot of concerns about the notification process and who was or was not notified during the evacuations. And I'm looking forward to more research into this particular fire in regard to notifications. But as Bruce pointed out, this river drainage of the Klamath River makes it nearly impossible for wireless communication. So it'll be interesting to see what type of recommendations that come out of it. We have been enjoying fairly moderate fire weather. However, our fuels are still trending at or below historic norms. I did have a conversation with the Ventura County Fire Chief yesterday, and they have not had measurable rain in Ventura County or in the Southlands since January. And their fuel moistures for their live fuel moistures are in the high 50%. We consider anything below 60% critical, and they don't typically hit that critical level until mid-September or so. They're trending into in just devastating fuel conditions. So we're all holding our breaths that we don't have the northeast wind events. We all holding our breaths that we don't get significant lightning events. So then moving on to something positive, Bell Cole from our very own Bell Cole from Ecologically Sound Practices is going to be recognized by Sustainable Santa Fe as the sustainability hero because of her role in Ecologically Sound Practices and the Marin Biomass Project. That's going to be Sunday, August 28th. And if you would like to have information on where to attend, let me know and I'll send you the link. Congratulations, Belle. It's been just a tremendous honor and a pleasure to work side by side with you. The regional priority plan, and discussed this a little bit at our executive committee. This is in alignment with the regional fire and or regional force and fire capacity building program. It involves CAL FIRE, Department of Conservation, and the Coastal Conservancy. And we've been, MWPA has been partnering with OneTAM to look for ways to create the regional priority plan, and that makes us eligible for a block grant and start looking at large landscape level projects that OneTAM and MWPA can partner on. We should have some updated information on this within the next month or so. I'm also very pleased to announce that after the board approved the extra hire position for grant specialist, we have recruited one and offered the position to Maria Schmidt, our newest extra hire employee for the MWPA as our grant specialist. She has been assuming much more of a responsibility in our resident focused grant program, as well as our footprint in reaching out and applying for grants. And one of her first targets that she'll be looking at for grants to come into Marin is home hardening and defensible space grants that we can bring into Marin. And then we can add that to our pool of money and augment what we are doing with our resident grant program. And finally, I'll close that we have started our transition to Marin Commons. Martina and I are working from here now. And we have started the organization of the boardroom. We are quite pleased with how that layout is coming out, and we'll be meeting with CMCM very soon, Community Media Center of Marin, to organize the AV aspect of it. So we look forward to being able to have our hybrid meetings hosted at the Commons. And also we will be having our first hybrid meeting as part of the evacuation ingress egress risk assessment technical advisory team here in a couple of weeks. So we're already putting the premises to good use. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Questions of Mark's report. Bruce?
I just want to let the board know that I will be attending the Sustainable San Rafael Party on August 28th. And I will thank Belle for the work that she's done. I participated in all of the ESP meetings in their development, and I continue to work with Belle on the marine biomass collaborative with a $500,000 study from OPR governor's office. And I see that Belle's not here, so here's the gift. And I'm going to ask you if anybody wants to donate. We talked about what's appropriate for Belle, and first it was flowers, something else, but the decision was made at the recommendation of Bill Carney, who was part of San Rafael, Sustainable San Rafael, that we purchase some carbon offsets sufficient to offset the greenhouse gas emissions associated with Belle's flying back east to see her family this coming year. So I'm going to chase that down. We have $50 in the pot. I'll throw another 50 in, but I'm going to need a little help. And so perhaps those of you who have an interest, $5-10, if you could get some money to Mark, I will assure you that'll be well invested thematically and on part of our authority. So please, if you would, please make an investment. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Bruce. Julie?
Mark, I wasn't sure if you should describe to the board the field trip yesterday or if that was something Anne was going to do.
Anne's going to touch on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Catherine, welcome.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm here. Thank you. Sorry.
Nice to see you. Anyone else have any questions for Mark? I guess the only question I have, Mark, is do you have a schedule for completing everything at Las Gamas and having everything ready?
I asked Martina to have it ready by the end of October, but she is on a path to get it done before that.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to public comment now. Martina, can you see if anyone in the public would like to comment on the executive director's report?
Certainly, if there are any members of the public wishing to speak on the executive officer's report, please raise your hand in the reactions. And I do not see anyone for public comment, sir.
Thank you. So I'm going to bring it back to the board for any additional discussion on the executive director's report. All right, seeing none, we're going to move to item 7, which is our consent calendar. The opportunity for public comment on the consent calendar will occur prior to the board's discussion of the consent calendar. The board may approve the entire consent calendar in one action, or in the alternate items on the consent calendar may be removed by any board member or staff member for separate discussion and vote. I'll now ask for public comment on the consent calendar. Catherine, was there an issue that you wanted to address?
Just with the minutes. So on page 3 of the minutes, it says I'm absent, but I was in the roll call as present and all the other votes were present. So I wondered if that could be corrected because I did vote. That's all.
Very good.
Okay.
Yep, we'll make a note of that. Thank you, Catherine. So we'll go to the public now. Martina, for any comments on the consent calendar.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on items of the consent calendar? Please raise your hand in the reactions. And I do see we have a hand raised from someone who looks like they dialed in.
You want to invite that number in?
Sure. So it looks like speaker at telephone number 415-669-7273. Speaker, if you can go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes from the time that you begin speaking. Okay, and so
that might be Catherine Donahue from Inverness
Oh.
iPod. So maybe you should invite her into the meeting. I just recognized the number.
do that, sir. Looks like I'm
It
having,
may have worked.
I don't see her as having have switched over.
I believe with the phone call, we could only have her in a role of being able to talk. And so we have that in there now. So she's here, but since she dialed in, she won't be able to do the video.
Okay. Catherine, if you could just acknowledge you can hear me?
I'm actually still showing her as muted. Dr. Hilliard, you said, is that who it is? That phone number, sir?
Catherine Donahue, and I think is it *9 to unmute?
It is *6 to unmute. And she has, I mean, what I can see is that she has the ability to speak, but I'm showing that she's still muted in the panel.
So Mark, maybe you could resend her the Zoom link. Maybe she needs to have that again. And
Will
maybe
do.
that will help her. And then Martina, you can move on to any other public comment.
Okay, and if there are any other members of the public wishing to speak on the consent calendar, please go ahead and raise your hand in the reactions. If you're joining us by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And so I do not see any additional comments.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to bring it back to the board to see if anyone wants to pull a item off the consent calendar. Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion for the consent calendar with the minutes being being adjusted as recommended by Catherine.
I'll move that.
I'll
And
second.
with the edits as suggested by Catherine Hilliard to the minutes.
Thank you. Moved by Barbara Kohler, second by Gabe Polson. Can we have a vote, please, Martina?
Certainly. Okay, we have Fairfax,
Yes.
Canfield is absent. Marinwood
Okay, aye.
Rivera is absent. Novato,
Aye.
and we have Director Hilliard for Southern Marin,
Aye.
Salinas,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Aye.
and Director Kurtz is absent. I do not believe she is named. Director Donahue. I'm not sure if Director Donahue will be able to vote with the phone. So we'll go forward to Director Jeschke,
Aye.
Director White,
Aye.
and Director Brito was absent. Director Finn,
Aye.
Director Burke,
Aye.
Director McMillan,
Aye.
and President Rodoni.
Aye, thank you. Next item is to move to item 8, which is staff reports. And the first report is the treasurer's report.
Good afternoon. I'm not on mute either. I don't have anything new to report based on my written report, except just to say that we are working on closing out the year, and we will have last year's final at the next meeting, in addition to a new budget proposal that includes the fiscal year 22 rollovers. And with that, I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any board member questions about the treasurer's report? Thank you. Seeing none, can we ask the public if they have any comments on this item?
If there are any members of the public wishing to speak on the treasurer's report, please raise your hand in the reactions. If you're attending by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. And I do not show anyone for public comments, sir.
Thank you. So I'm going to bring it back to the board for any further discussion. Seeing none, we'll move to item 8B, which is a work plan update. Anne?
Thank you. Martina, I'll need to be able to share my screen.
Certainly, Ann, just a moment.
You should be good, Ann.
Great. Are you able to see this? That's a yes. Okay, great. Okay, well, fantastic. So we have a lot going on. I will try to be brief, but there is a lot of content here.
We have some great news to report regarding some of the projects from fiscal year 21-22 that overlap federal lands. We've been working closely with National Park Service staff to make sure that those projects are included in their internal processes. So their work plan for the coming year and their environmental compliance for these projects. And that is a federal process. It's NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act compliance. And so that now is complete for the 3 projects that were kind of on hold. So that includes a portion of Tamalpais Homestead Valley fuel break, Highway 1 evacuation corridor project, and Stinson Beach fuel break. So that means the next steps are to file our own CEQA compliance for those bits, and those items for the 2 core projects will be on the board agenda next month. So we're excited to move forward with that. I'd also like to provide an update on the Coastal Act compliance for the West Marin evacuation route project. You might remember that this project involves thinning vegetation, particularly understory, adjacent to certain roads in the coastal zone. The project would extend 10 feet off either side of roadways and 15 feet above the roadway to allow for a safer evacuation and allow for emergency vehicles to drive through. The county held a public hearing this morning to consider our permit application under the Coastal Act and Local Coastal Program. And the Deputy Zoning Administrator decided to approve our application with some additional requirements. We're getting clarification on exactly what those are, but I think that they are generally working with Department of Public Works to make sure we know exactly the project boundaries and the right of way, and incorporating the work of a biologist in pre-work surveys and also biological monitoring while we implement the project, which we had incorporated into the project already. The other important component of kind of that work in the last couple of weeks was really reaching out to some of the residents who were wondering what this project really entails. And so we've been offering to walk neighborhoods and really think through what this would look like on residential roads. And many of those residents have already been doing a lot of work in their neighborhoods. So we'll be able to, I think that there are areas that probably need no treatment at all, but we'll be working and communicating with residents throughout the whole process. And then once we get past a 10-day appeal period, then that's when we'll start really diving into reaching out to residents, and then we'll be able to begin implementing the project. So we also would like to offer some site visits to areas that we'll be working in for this project, because I think that communication and showing people our work is going to be a really key component moving forward, building trust. I'd like to extend a big thank you to those of you who provided comment letters in support of the project, including Director Molesworth. And then in addition, so the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break, speaking of site visits, we hosted a site visit for this project yesterday. We had almost 50 people attend. It was a great event. We really enjoyed including a variety of different interests on the talk and on the walk. And we were pleased to have directors Jeschke, McMillan, Goins, and Paulson attend as well. This was co-hosted with the ESP Partnership, Central Marin Fire, and Marin County Open Space District. So we also, for that same project, that's been getting a lot of attention because it's our biggest project so far. We've had a public meeting on July 26th that was pretty well attended. About 50 to 60 members of the public attended either remotely or in person. And then we also conducted a crew training on August 2nd, excuse me. And that included about 50 people, contractors and crews. And so we trained them in all the environmental compliance requirements for this project in both English and Spanish at that event. In addition, we have 3 more projects that were just on the consent calendar, 2 in Southern Marin Zone, 1 in Novato. There's a lot going on all around the county, and we're really excited to see work happening in all 5 zones. We would love to make site visits and public tours part of kind of our normal operations. So we hope to reach out to some of our other member agencies to schedule additional public tours. Wanted to share a before and after photo in the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break project area. This is within the Terra Linda Sleepy Hollow Preserve managed by Marin County Open Space District. And the coordination here has been really great. We've been communicating with district staff on a daily basis, walking the sites and thinking through what exactly should happen where. In this area, this was part of the tour yesterday. The before photo was taken earlier this week and the after photo was taken yesterday. As you can see, some thinning took place and some limbing up. This was very light touch work and is consistent with what Marin County Parks and Open Space staff would like to see. We are diving right into our grant program for the year 22-23 and have seen a huge uptick in applications. So we're really excited that the word is getting out there and residents are taking advantage of this opportunity. You approved the work plan budget for home hardening and defensible space grants for the 22-23 year, about $125,000 for each of those. And then we were predicting a pretty good rollover from the year 21-22 into this year's budget. And so this is kind of an estimate of where we are right now or where the numbers were a week or two ago. So we'll have about $645,000 to work with this fiscal year, but we've already seen 144 new applications. So a lot of interest, a lot going on, and we'll keep an eye on that budget. The chipper program is still up and running. We're a little over halfway through. We've had about 1,320 pickups completed by the end of July. So this is a couple weeks out of date, more than 1,320 pickups as of mid-August for sure. But I wanted to share, especially so whenever somebody gets their pile picked up, they can fill out a survey. And so wanted to share these two bullets from surveys in July, which included a 93% rating of 5 stars, which is pretty great. And then some great quotes from their comments. So I'm blown away by this program. Thanks again to all involved. So I'm going to end with our statistics here. We've added a few miles to roadside evacuation routes on this agenda today. So 286.8 miles, and then nearly 2,700 miles of shaded fuel breaks and prescribed herbivory, et cetera, and 12 miles of fire roads. There's a lot more talk and planning around fire roads, maintenance and mapping coming as well. Novato has taken the lead on that effort. And then here, these are photos from the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break crew training, and then also our huge group at the site visit yesterday. So that's it for me. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ann. Really great report and update. Questions from board members? Barbara.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Ann. Just a question that maybe is basic. Are those PowerPoints put on our website? Because those are really valuable for folks to see. So I'm hoping they get on the website. Do they?
Yeah, I would be happy to provide Martina with the PowerPoint. I'm not sure if it would be linked with the board meeting or if it can go elsewhere. Also happy to just share the PowerPoint with you if you'd like to use any of the slides.
You know, I think on the website, wherever is appropriate would be good, because it's such a thumbnail sketch of all the great work, and a lot of folks like a shorter thing. And I also want to thank you for sending out the brochures that you do for the work for vegetation management and shaded fuel breaks type work. This and I think it went to all board members, but that's really valuable, and be nice if PG&E would take a page from our book. But thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Julie.
I got to go on the field trip yesterday, and I just wanted to thank you. I thought it was wonderful to see the before and the after, and it was especially terrific to get to see people in person and chat with people informally. So thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Catherine.
I just want to add my thanks and also tell you what's going on down here on Amaranth, the upper in Homestead Valley. It's amazing what clearing they've done. It's just amazing. And it's thanks to MWPA and the neighbors. It's really, and in my neighborhood in the Tam Valley area, the firefighters are out here clearing dead eucalyptus trees, not live ones, but dead ones. And I always thought if I drive up my street and I see those, basically I'm toast, but now I'm not because they've removed them. So things are going on and it's a combination of everybody together, which is really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Any additional questions from board members? All right, we'll move to the public comment about this work plan update.
If there are any members of the public wishing to speak regarding the work plan update, please raise your hand. And sir, it looks like we do have a hand for public comment. Mr. Larry Minikis. Go, please unmute yourself, sir.
There I am. Good afternoon. And I'd like to second Julie McMillan's comments on the field trip and hope we do more of them. And I was making a couple comments yesterday to a few folks there that we knew a lot of people that were there between us. And this also goes back to a comment Rich Shortle made at the last board meeting, which is you sent out about 3,000 postcards for the Sleepy Hollow Community Center presentation. And we had a relatively small number of people show up, plus all the other outreach. And it's not so much on us, but really the community. How do we get more of the community out and active to see these things? And I think that's a puzzle that if we can solve it, would be great. But I think it just really speaks to issues in general, Marin. You've got a small group of people on any given issue that get involved. So at some point, hopefully it'd be nice to see more people get out, and great field trip. Thank you all for putting that together.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else, Martina?
If there are any members of the public wishing to speak, any additional comments regarding the work plan update? I do not see any hands, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to bring you back to the board for any further discussion. There's no action required on this item. Bruce, go ahead. Sorry, I missed your hand earlier.
Yeah, I want to echo comments about the field trip yesterday. It was fantastic. The diversity of folks who were there from the environmental community, from the COC, board members, just some really superb work that's being done. My question is for Ann and Mark. I think when we give work plan updates, I know that last year our strategic planning group took a look at our goals and objectives and identified specific objectives and metrics and monitoring. And one of the things that we committed to was to look to reporting not just miles and acres, but look to reporting percent of very high or moderate or low fuel hazard areas that have been reduced in their fire hazard. And so it's really, I don't look for an answer now, but Ann and Mark, I think would be looking to when are we going to start speaking in terms of the metrics that we identified in the strategic plan last year.
Excellent point, and we'll begin putting that into the metrics that we're displaying.
Yeah, don't mean to make things complicated, Ann and team. You guys, it's just phenomenal work, but we all know that it's not just the outputs, but I think we want to speak in the terms outcomes. That is, how we're reducing the hazard. So the sooner we can get to that, I think the better. I know that when we do regular reporting, we'll be getting to that. But thank you for amazing work, and I'm just so excited. Just so excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Any other board comments, discussion points? I would just add, seeing the pictures of the number of people that attended the the walkthrough yesterday just sort of symbolizes the number of eyes that are on the work we're doing. And I say that from a real positive perspective. I think it's a good thing. And so I think we should be proud of that, that so many people are engaged and willing to come out and take a look at what we're doing. Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to add my comment about yesterday's field trip. I thought it was extremely worthwhile, very informative. And I think it suggests what might be a missed opportunity. I'd like to see some signage in a project like the one we looked at yesterday, at particularly some of the entrance routes, that would explain very simply what's going on and who's paying for it. I think it's a great way to show people that action is being taken to enhance safety in Marin and that their dollars are being spent on great projects.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, I'd love to respond to that. We just finished making sandwich boards for that project, and each sandwich board has a QR code where you can scan the QR code and go to the project webpage for more information. Additionally, we have two folks who are really great, very experienced people, Brian McCarthy and Mike St. John, helping to implement these projects and lead crews. They're reaching out to all of the neighbors before entering any particular area and leaving flyers with contact information for any additional questions. So there's quite a bit of outreach to the neighboring areas, and I think you're absolutely right. We need not only the signs that we just ordered and picked up, but additional ones for our other projects as well.
Thank you, Ann. Any other discussion, comments from board members? All right, there's no action on this item. So we're going to move to item 9, which is Fire Safe Marin Report. Rich, you're on.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll share screen here if you don't mind. And you all have this report, so I'll just go through it pretty quickly, but I'd like to point out some of the highlights in it. So this is our annual report, all the work that we did last year, sort of an executive summary there real quickly. I think here's some big numbers that really count, which is, this is just from Fire Safe Marin, 760,000 touch points. That means that people actually see the content of things that we're doing. We produced 85 different videos, 376,000 pages on our website were viewed, and then 2,700 hours of viewing of the YouTube channel. So we are getting out there. Our biggest accomplishments, we increased our educational content, new materials. I'll talk more about the Adapt to Wildfire campaign, but that's a big start going on this year. Strengthened the partnerships quite a bit last year, and that's going to be our biggest push this year, because we really, the key to success really is working with people who have relationships in given communities, their trusted sources out there. We've talked a lot about Ember Stomp. We're pretty happy about that. We made a big push in social media, which was brand new, and that's really becoming the way to reach people these days. And then, of course, a ton of work was done on the website because it is kind of the flagship of the organization. Partnerships, as I point out, they're really important. As I said, the key to this is you want to be working with people who have existing relationships in various communities. I'll use the Marin Center for Independent Living as an example here. So here's a group that works with people in the AFN community. They have lots of touch points out there. If there's any group that really needs this messaging and assistance and help, this is really the group that we most worry about. So it makes sense to work with them. Master Gardeners has been a great partner, and Fire Foundry. Realtors really stepped up at the end. We want to do a lot more with them. It's amazing how many people realtors interact with. And so there's a lot of opportunity to get the word out there. And then lots of other landscapers, nursery, PIOs, et cetera. Lots of partner agencies. And that's really the key to our success, is developing partnerships. I mentioned the website. There was a complete redesign done. It was a completely new look. We really loved it. And now every time I look at it, I want to change it. So you're going to see a lot more changes coming to it, pretty substantial, but it does have a brand new look and feel and a color scheme and whatnot. And I think it navigates pretty well. And there's a lot of information in there. I think an important thing is that this website is, as you see over here, 10,000 people a month come on board. That number goes up quite a bit during when wildfires are active. And it's interesting that people in Europe, Asia, and Australia actually come in to visit. We get a lot of contacts from other people outside of the state. That we have, I think, a very good reputation built around the website. This is kind of interesting. I won't spend the time, but this surprised me. The pages that people view the most, yeah, events made sense, but soffits and eaves was number 2, kind of amazing to me. But if you really want to dig in, here's all the info on that. And then we support the home evaluation program. So videos was a big deal. I mentioned we made over 83 of them. A lot of you may not have seen these yet, these Get Radio videos. This is a little bit out of our normal thing. These are sort of all hazard videos. Each one's about 4 minutes. I think they're really good, so take a quick peek at those. Animated shorts are really pretty popular. If you haven't gone on them, people really like them. We get a lot of views on them. I think we're going to use more of those in movie theaters and whatnot. And then, of course, we had the Wildfire Watch TV show. We actually love the TV show. It's just hard to get people to watch something that lasts even 30 minutes. So we're kind of moving away from that and really just focusing on the segments. Everybody loves Mythbusters. If you haven't seen Todd on that, it's really good. We just filmed another one of them this morning. That's a big one. Voices of Marin is important. We want to know what people are actually thinking, do-it-yourself segments. And of course, Firebeat. Firebeat's probably the one we'll keep going most regularly, where Mark goes on and really explains to the public what the real items of interest are that are going on in the fire world that's out there. We did some webinars and whatnot. And then the ADAPT campaign, you've seen a lot of this, but you may not see all of it in one place. So here's some of the imagery that was created and pushed out there in all sorts of different ways. If you're really interested, again, here's sort of how we do our photography. We really like trying to do Marin residents. All these are just regular people who are out there. We try to really get some diversity, as you can see in our photos, and I think that's really important in our outreach. And then this is how we did our advertising. And then, of course, all this material gets incorporated into other feeds or social media feeds. It's not just in the IJ. It's not just static. And of course, it's multiplied for all of our partner agencies. And this is really where you see how the partner agencies help get this out. So you develop the content, but you put it out in a lot of different ways. And that's why when you see a number like the 750,000 number of people that we reach, that's what Fire Safe Marin did. All these other agencies are reaching many, many more people in addition to that. So the real touch points is probably approaching 2 million. And of course, we were happy that we won the Telly Award for this video. We know people are seeing it because every once in a while, hey, I saw Todd in the video, and Todd will say, my friends saw me and whatnot. It's in the movie theaters now if you want to take a look at it. Firewise USA was a big thing. I won't get into too much, but I think this is something we forget about this. Firewise USA, with our 78 sites, represents 55,000 households in Marin. And those households are located in the most at-risk areas in Marin for the most part. We're going to be making a much bigger push to work with these communities even more. It's just, again, trusted sources in these communities that are out there. And supporting that program is a big deal. This is the type of things we focus on, all the type of work we do with them, how we support them. Evacuation drills a big deal, and we're really happy to say that a lot of Firewise sites have gotten on board, taking advantage of our evacuation drill templates and hosting their own evacuation drills, whether simple or more complicated. And then, of course, we have something we call the cache. This has actually worked out pretty good. Even people who aren't Firewise to take advantage of, but it's a repository of all our materials. So instead of us running all over Marin, delivering handouts and whatnot, people could go in here and take advantage of it. The newsletter has now up to 12,000 subscribers. That's a nice number, but more important is the opening rate, which is 56%. That's extremely, extremely high for a nonprofit. And then the click-through rate ranges from anywhere from 4 to 8%, which again is much, much higher than most others. So the click-through rate means that you may have read all the material that's right in there, but that means you dived in even deeper on some of the articles and whatnot. So the the amount of people who are subscribing to it has gone from 5,000 to 12. So we're pretty happy with that. YouTube is a big deal, and 37,000 views, all these hours. There's going to be a lot more put on YouTube. We're kind of reorganizing that, but you know, again, it's modern media. That's the type of thing people are interested in. The episodes kind of from Firewatch and all related. I'll let you work your own way through this, but all of these things tie together to amplify each other. And then this is where I'm really happy, and this is in social media. It may seem small, but it's growing really rapidly. And what we're seeing is that our engagement is actually really high, much higher than you normally get in these accounts. So you'll see, for example, anything above 1% on Twitter is pretty good. So we have 3.4%. Sounds like nothing, but when you compare it to all the other Twitter accounts, it's actually kind of a big deal. We're going to be really pushing this. A lot of the ADAPT campaign funding that we got this year is going to be driven through social media, clever buys, other ways to promote these ways of getting to people, because this is really what people are using nowadays. And again, for those of you, I'm not really a social media user. So sometimes I don't look at it for a while, and then the group shows all the stuff they created. So this is an example of some of the material, the original content that goes into it. It gets pretty creative. Another thing we do, and we're kind of proud of this, is anybody who's ever from the public had a question for us almost always gets their question responded to the same day. We're pretty proud of that, and I think that's one of the things that kind of keeps our reputation up. We did a lot of work with schools, and you're going to be hearing a lot more this year. We're going to really expand this, but we worked with elementary schools last year, both in English and Spanish. This is going to take a big jump this year, and a pilot program in the Ross Valley here that we hope to extend to other areas out there. I think that's a really an important age group to get to people, because that's really how you get to parents, is through the kids. And then we had some very good success with high school programs out there. You probably saw some of them presented out there at Emberstomp. Again, it's another important group to work with. We're excited about that. There'll be more of it this year. We have partnerships that we really have developed kind of in the last year, and now we're really upping this, particularly with community response teams, so that we are reaching non-English speaking communities. Sometimes people forget, but we do produce a lot of material in Spanish. So we Go Bag Video, Fire Smart Landscaping was done in Spanish, and that's a really popular one. Some of the animation was done that way. When we advertise something like Emberstomp, we create materials both in English and Spanish for that. You'll see number 4 over there is the bird survey, which was a relatively new thing we created, again, in both languages. The ADAPT campaign, and then very importantly in the programming for students is being done in both English and Spanish. That's not new. We've been doing this for a while, and you're going to see a lot more of it in the upcoming year. We do training programs for professionals, both on home hardening, Fire Smart Landscaping. We're working on developing what we think is going to be a really new program of training for landscape professionals, and creating a way for them to better interact with homeowners. We'll be talking more about that as we go on, but that's going to be a pretty heavy lift that we're starting right now. There was a request for us to do work for mobile homes, and mobile homes are very vulnerable to wildfire. I think every large one that you see, those are the first communities that usually, unfortunately, are hit pretty hard. So we not only created material that's on our website and handouts, but we actually delivered them to the most of the mobile home parks in Marin County for residents to take advantage of. And then, of course, you saw the spring workshops. I kind of really want to amp these up so that they're even better next year. And then we turned all that into kind of a nice highlight video. And I think that's an opportunity really to, much as we're saying other things, to point out all the great work that the MWPA is doing in each of the different zones that are there. The Chipper program you heard about, you're going to get a separate report on that. Again, we all see how successful it is. It's a great program. And then Emberstomp, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but it really exceeded our expectations. Over 2,000 people showed up to that. It was a very diverse group of people came, both in age and other demographics. Everybody was engaged. It wasn't passive. They didn't come for the music. They came for the wildfire information. We plan to make this quite a bit bigger next year. Fingers crossed. So we're very optimistic about that. Community building goes along with that. Inspiration. And then this is the team that puts it all together. It really, almost everybody on here is actually part-time. In fact, this year, we only have 2 full-time people at Fire Safe Marin. That's Meg and Jen. I'm half-time. Everybody else is either half-time or a part-time contractor. So it's a very small group of people that put out all of this work. And I think that's one of the things that I'm going to say, big return on investment working with Fire Safe Marin. So this is the team. Thank you very much. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Rich. Really good report. I love the different brochures and the color and the presentation of everything. It's really enjoyable to look through. Questions for Rich? Julie?
Rich, that was great. I can't believe you only work half-time because I'm exhausted. I'm just wondering if you already have a date for Ember Stomp in 2023.
It will be the first or second week of May. We won't do it on the holiday weekend again. We're kind of playing with that.
Thank you. I can't see the screen. Could you close your video or your
Oh, I'm sorry.
presentation, please?
Excuse me. There we go.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. Thanks, Rich. We're going to go to the public now for any public comments on your report.
If there are any members of the public wishing to speak on the Fire Safe Marin report, please raise your hand. And it looks like we do have a public comment. Mr. Minikis, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, I want to speak on behalf of the Marin Conservation League and just say that the kind of education outreach that Fire Safe Marin is doing is just outstanding. And if we would see this from throughout the county, and the county is doing a good job. I'm not talking specifically, I'm just saying throughout with everything out there, this kind of education and outreach is to do 85 videos in this period and high quality and the kind of materials that have been going out, just fantastic. And I just want to say that on behalf of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else, Martina?
If there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand or press *6 to unmute yourself. I do not see any additional public comments, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to bring you back to the board for final thoughts on this report. And I would like to just share with you that Catherine Donahue is listening. She's not able to speak though, but she is listening to the meeting. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go to item 10, which is informational items, and wondering if staff has any additional items for the board.
Nothing but except for the Chief Weber's presentation of Fire Foundry.
All right, we'll move to that then, unless someone has a question about A or B. All right, we're going to go to Jason Weber, Chief Weber, and the Fire Foundry.
Thank you, President Rodoni, board members, Jason Weber, County Fire and Ross Valley Fire Chief. Pleasure to be back in front of you. It feels like I've been missing my old friends here at MWPA, so it's nice to see all of you. Mark is going to show the presentation, and I'm going to whiz through here as this is a kind of generic presentation. But I'll start with that one of our recruits actually was the artist that did this this drawing that you see in front of you. So we have multi-talents within the group, but the Fire Foundry is an innovative program that's designed and developed really with workforce development in mind. The goal of helping underrepresented youth earn their way into a sustainable wage career. And that's the principal focus of the program. We can go to slide 3, Mark. Recruits are going to receive education, experiential learning, so really hands-on learning as they go, wraparound services to ensure their success, career pathway support, both through the academic piece as well as professional mentors, so professional men and women in the fire service that will be one-on-one with them. Financial support to cover costs that would often be found as a barrier. And then obviously opportunities to apply for fire relevant careers, and many of which have been created by our voters and Measure C and ultimately MWPA. So how does this work? We are, and this is the next slide. We are in the process of starting the recruitment now. It opened Monday, actually, for the second cohort. And we're giving people an opportunity. We've learned a lot in the first 6 months. So as background, this program started January 31st. It kicked off with the first cohort. And it's been a learning experience for everyone, recruits and all of those running the program, how to best achieve success. And we warned all of these recruits that they were guinea pigs along with us, that we were working through this, and they've been troopers, and they've really helped inform our decisions moving forward. But with that, allowing people to apply, we're looking at taking an additional 30 cohorts starting this fall, and not all of them need full-time employment as part of it. They may need the wraparound services, they may need mentoring, the academic pursuit with our partnership with the college. But we'll really be able to do that as an intake in the beginning. The first group, if you recall, we put them all into a fire crew, and some of them have interest in that kind of work. Others were more interested in fire prevention work. So we're catering the program to accommodate that. But really this fall is when this next group of recruits will come through. Next slide. How it works, as part of the application process, we've got an outstanding partner in the College of Marin. So they have really stepped up to the plate and are helping us prepare these recruits so they can enter a fire academy if that's the pursuit. They can complete their EMT if they're interested in the emergency medical services side. They can get this coursework done here locally at the college. And I just left the college with the president, and we've got a lot of great opportunities coming up, which is exciting. Next is employment opportunities. So we have lots of work in front of us, as everyone knows here. That's vegetation management. We're accomplishing that through our partnership with Conservation Corps North Bay, which has been a fabulous partner in this. Our Defensible Space Inspection Program, that's a shared partnership through the greater Ross Valley and the county. And then, of course, Santa Fe's program that is very similar, and other programs. This is just a small example. All of your agencies are participating, which is wonderful. Next slide. A little bit about the relationship with the Conservation Corps North Bay. So the county, with Supervisor Rodoni's support, entered into a multi-year contract as part of this pilot. Also, very happy to report, since the last time I talked to you, we were awarded a $2.7 million grant from California Volunteers that'll allow us to expand what we're able to do in our partnership with the Conservation Corps North Bay, which has allowed us to run the separate crew above and beyond our fire crews here in the county that is out focused on vegetation management. I'm actually in their quarters this afternoon here with them. Next is just a great picture. You can see the recruits. This was, they were down in Marin City for an event, but we captured the opportunity for a little picture there. Next slide. One of the big things we're doing with the college is the prerequisites, but also starting earlier this year. And last year, remember, we started January 31st, which made it a little tough for the spring semester. But having enough runway in front of us with the fall semester, the college is committed to the prerequisites program for emergency medical responder and EMT. And you'll see some success stories here in a minute. As well as the prerequisites for Santa Rosa Junior College or City College of San Francisco's Firefighter One Academy. And then also, the longer and deeper discussion is the partnership and looking at seeing if we can get to a point where we have an associate's degree in natural resources, climate, and wildland fire, which would be something that's not offered across California or the West, surprisingly enough. Next slide. Here are the recruits in Stinson Beach, learning about some aspect of both a career and mixed volunteer fire agency, but also out on the coast and some of the challenges that are there for a fire agency serving a coastal community and the ocean. Again, here this next slide is two recruits with our partnership with the Berkeley and demoing safety equipment that's used by NASA, but is looking at being integrated in the fire service. So actually taking this material, and you can see she's wearing this glove, and testing it in live fire conditions to see if it would be applicable for PPE. So some of these things are literally just starting off out of the lab and may find themselves in their way into the fire service and some of the personal protection equipment we wear. Next slide. Wraparound services was a big piece of the discussion. So in this picture, the background is a newly remodeled kitchen at the Fire Foundry headquarters, which is a retired fire station that's been transitioned to assist with housing. But also there, a Ross resident who has been very generous and supportive of our program, providing regular meals to the crew and making sure that, again, those wraparound services are covered. Next slide is this is again a couple shots of the recruits, not necessarily out in the field doing vegetation management, but learning some aspect of the fire service, and there are many different aspects to learn. Next slide. I think a lot of what we have seen and heard about with the Fire Foundry crew is defensible space, and I suspect this is in San Rafael and a direct assistance work where they're removing juniper and other invasive non-native flammable species from yards. And we found that this direct assistance is so much more successful than either months and months of laborious work trying to get enforcement across and liens against property. In so many cases, either seniors or others on fixed incomes can't do that. And our direct assistance allows us to target these residents and make a big difference. I doubt this is going to play, Mark, but you can try it if it does. If not, we'll skip and I think we'll probably skip it. Video and Zoom, I don't think is going to work too well. But we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of the video. I think it's just demonstrates some of the amazing recruits that are out there. And if we go to the next slide, a little bit about success stories. Liz passed her CPAT, which is the physical agility test. That's a minimum requirement for entry into the fire service. She also passed her National Registry EMT, so certified as an emergency medical technician. She's enrolled in a bachelor's degree program and was hired with San Francisco Fire Department. So one of the early successes in the program. Next slide. Rebecca passed her CPAT as well in her National Registry EMT. She was just recently accepted into the Santa Rosa JC Fire Academy for this fall. And then Anaí has worked on an ambulance. She completed the prerequisites for the Fire Academy, and she has worked this summer as a defensible space inspector with the greater Ross Valley in Marin County, and is doing just an amazing job. And then, lessons learned, as I mentioned, this is a very, very brief description of lessons learned. We're learning a lot, and there's a lot of exciting things happening. But the importance of guidance, mentorship, house experiences are key, just living together as a group, employment support, how that works, and not a one size fits all from an employment perspective, because not everybody needs the same level of assistance, financial support, and ensuring those educational pathways are there. And then recruits rising to the bar, and they certainly have done that without exception. Some of the other big milestones, and again, I'll credit Supervisor Rodoni here, the county support. We received funding for the expansion of our fire crew programs with the county fire department, with our state CAL FIRE contract. That's also allowing us to permanently fill the positions and leadership roles that we're going to need to continue beyond our pilot with this program and ensure that it has long-term sustainability for the work we're doing. Additionally, this next week, we're interviewing for a full-time program coordinator position for the Fire Foundry. This will allow us to continue that support, expand. As I mentioned, we're looking at 30 new cohorts on top of the group we already have. So the program's growing, and working with our partner agencies will be a key piece of that job. And then, as I mentioned briefly, we'll have a press conference next Tuesday, but celebrating the over $2 million grant received from the California Volunteers to support this program and allow us to continue the partnership with CCMB. So that is it, and I'm open to any questions. And of course, thank all of you for the continued support through MWPA in making this a reality.
Thank you, Chief Weber. Really appreciate the update and report. And, you know, I would just like to add, this couldn't have been done without a great collaboration with so many partners involved. So thank you for your leadership. Stephen, would you like to ask a question?
Thank you, President Rodoni and Chief Weber. This is really inspiring and encouraging. A quick question. In your outreach to Marin City, have you encountered a group called the Marin County Cooperation Team?
I would say probably yes. I am only one part of the team, and Sophie Martinez, who works in our Office of Equity, is our outreach coordinator. But if we have not, I will make sure that we do. But we certainly have been engaged with the Marin City community, Canal, Novato, West Marin, you know, many of the communities that are our target audience for the program is certainly.
Let me follow up with you offline. They have a youth academy aimed at high school age boys right now. And they have their first graduating class coming. And they're a great partner with us here in Mill Valley on a range of programs we've been doing, including internships and things like that. So I'd like just to make sure that they're aware of the program. So I'll follow up with you offline. Thank you.
Absolutely. Please do. Thanks.
Catherine.
I also want to add my thanks. Specifically, I get requests on how do I get into the fire service from people who are either partially in or terribly interested and they don't know the pathway, particularly young women. And I've already, you know, Chief Weber has been kind enough to meet with one. As a future employer, Chief Weber, what do you want from us?
I think that your continued support, and I know, you know, through the board president and Mark, we've had that, and I think that the work that is you know being accomplished through MWPA is the return on that investment. The cost of that it pays for this program for the participants' salaries, if you will, which allows us to continue. So I think the long-term success of MWPA will ensure the long-term success of this program. And I think the ripple effects are certainly there. So.
Thank you. Thanks so
Julie?
much.
Yep. Thanks, Catherine. Julie?
Thank you, Chief Weber. That was very inspiring. You mentioned a Ross resident has been very generous in helping to support some aspects of the program. I'm just wondering if there should be a broader outreach throughout Marin County to solicit donations to help support all of these efforts.
Great question, and absolutely. And we have established a 501c3. And we're waiting for the state, I believe, or the Fed, one of the two, for that designation. And that designation obviously will allow, I should certainly shout out to Fire Safe Marin, who has helped us and has accepted donations, and we're able to, and then grant us funds specific parts of the program, which has been very helpful. Also, Marin Community Foundation has been engaged and very supportive in this, and you're right, there's a lot of philanthropic opportunities out there, and I think the 501c3 status will allow us to capitalize on those.
Thank you, Julie. Any other questions from board members? Seeing none, we'll go to the public comment about this item, which is the Fire Foundry presentation, or any of the informational items also.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak regarding the Fire Foundry presentation or any of the other information items? Please raise your hand in the reactions. And if you are joining us by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. And sir, I do not see any hands for public comment.
Thank you, Martina. I'm going to bring it back to the board for any further discussion. All right, seeing none. Thank you, Chief Weber. Appreciate seeing you. Nice to see you again.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
We're going to move on to item 11, which is board member requests regarding future agenda items. Would anyone have a suggestion for a future agenda item? All right, seeing none. We're ready to close out this meeting today. I want to thank you all for your attendance, and we'll look forward to seeing you on September 20th, which is our next meeting. And I'll now call the meeting adjourned.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.